Now, the Europeans have lost their primary source of natural gas from Russia, and what they've been doing to this point is paying about 10 times market price in order to fill up their storage. The problem is that storage is just that storage. It's not even an emergency supply. It's part of their normal supply system for the winter.
This is Peter Zeihan, a geopolitical analyst and strategist well known for his analysis and predictions on the food and energy crisis. He is an expert on oil, natural gas, and energy markets. He is also an author and former analyst for the Austin-based geopolitical intelligence firm Stratfor. His analysis has been published in many leading news publications. The world is an incredibly fragile place. Any current or developing situation could cascade into a severe geopolitical crisis. In the past few years, we have seen international relations take a turn for the worse. Relations between Russia and the rest of Europe continue to deteriorate. The United States is at odds with much of Asia over trade and defense alliances. Tensions in the Middle East remain high as Iran continues to expand its sphere of influence while nations like Saudi Arabia and Israel remain distrustful of one another. In this video, we'll look at where things stand globally right now and Peter Zeihan's warnings about Ukraine's consequences on the energy crisis in Europe and what can be done to resolve it. Please watch, like, and share this video. Also, drop your comments and thoughts below. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel for more related content similar to this. We begin with a short clip of Peter Zeihan.
So stuff comes in via pipe, and in the summer demand is lower, and then in the winter they get about 2/3 of their supply from pipe and about 1/3 from storage. Well, they've lost half of the stuff that used to come in from pipe from the Russians. So they're going to be drawing down more aggressively, and by the time we get to next winter it's going to be really ugly, because the pipes from Russia are in many cases now destroyed, and so they're not going to be able to top off their storage at all without paying absolutely exorbitant prices.
The conflict in Ukraine has had a profound effect on the energy situation in Europe. Prior to the conflict, Ukraine was a major transit country for Russian natural gas, with about 15% of Europe's gas supplies passing through its territory. However, since the start of the conflict, Russia has been forced to find alternative routes for its gas exports. The Russian invasion of Ukraine has triggered a tense political environment with potential implications for all countries concerned with regional stability and economic prosperity. From the short video clip, Zeihan laid emphasis on how Europe's next winter would be disastrous from what they are going through now. This is because they have lost half of the resources that come from the pipes of the Russians due to the ongoing conflict with Ukraine. As a result of the conflict, European countries have been forced to diversify their energy sources away from Russia. This has led to some European nations now looking to turn to Africa for their natural gas imports. In addition, the conflict has led to higher energy prices and disruptions in gas supplies. However, according to a post by CNBC, Europe's plan to replace Russian gas are still wildly optimistic as it could affect its economy. Unlike the United States, Australia, and Canada, who have placed an outright ban on Russian oil and gas imports since March 2022, the 27 members of the European Union are yet to agree on the embargo. The Russian-Ukraine conflict is now a major factor in the current energy crisis in Europe. It has led to higher prices, disruptions in supplies, and a need for energy diversification. Listen to these carefully.
Now, there are a couple of ways that you can kind of square the circle here. The first one is bring in natural gas from new sources. Now, the pipes are all maxed out, so that has to be with liquefied form. Normally, natural gas is transported by pipe through fixed infrastructure, but you can, at the point of export, freeze the stuff into a liquid and then load it onto a specialized tanker that then brings it into your consuming zone where it is offloaded and regasified and then funneled back into your system normally. Now, freezing a gas into a liquid form is as energy intensive and as expensive as you might think. The Europeans get around that on the emissions side by pretending that anything that happens with natural gas before it reaches Europe is not their problem, which is, very par for the course when it comes for European data on carbon. And in terms of energy security, unless you sign a fixed term contract that's usually 10 or 20 years, you're tapping what's called the spot market. So just individual cargoes that are looking for a home. Those tend to be far more expensive. And the Europeans don't want to commit to 20 years of natural gas from a source on the other side of the planet, so they're trying to just tap the spot market almost exclusively, and they're having to pay the price for that, and that is part of the reason why European inflation is so much stronger in many cases than it is even in the United States. So that's option one. They've been doing a lot of that. Option number two is to shut down demand. Whether it's demand destruction or purposefully shutting things down doesn't really matter. The Europeans have chosen to largely remove natural gas from their industrial space. And so we are seeing huge amounts of industrial closures across the entire industrial space. And this has a lot of consequences.
From the video, Zeihan discussed some ways in which the current ongoing situation can be squared, one of which is bringing natural gas from new sources. He stressed more on freezing a gas into a liquid form, and then, after transporting it to the desired location, it can be regasified and funneled to the specified system. This is a great approach to solving the gas transport from long-distant pipes that can get destroyed at any moment or time. However, this approach can also be very expensive, especially with security concerns. One other solution Zeihan spoke of was shutting down demand on these resources, or, rather, shutting down on things that aren't really needed or valuable. However, he didn't hesitate to say that these could lead to some consequences, which we will show you in the next video clip. Listen to these carefully.
The Germans, for example, don't think of energy in the way that most Americans do. We're very agnostic about where we get our energy. So Mexico, Canada, Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, if we don't think anyone is looking. The Germans need long-term contracts with state-owned suppliers through fixed infrastructure so they have a degree of stability in their supply. That is not an option right now because a lot of the pipes are offline. So when you shut down industrial infrastructure and demand in Germany, you're talking about something that cuts to the core of their entire industrial model. Because that natural gas isn't just part of their electricity system, it's part of their petrochemical system, which is what makes their manufacturing sector possible. So in shutting all this stuff down, the Europeans are choosing, maybe not consciously, but they are choosing a general deindustrialization trend for the entire continent. No one is making nitrogen-based fertilizer in Europe anymore. No one is smelting aluminum anymore. A lot of the steel foundries are shutting down. Auto manufacturers already down by a quarter and is dropping fast. It'll be gone in less than a year because remember, next year they're going to have even less to work with. So we are looking at the collapse of not just the broader European economic model, but the specific German industrial model that allows things like BMWs to exist. The problem they're facing this winter is that even the normal backup plan of going to the United States for liquefied natural gas is not really an option. As you can see, it's a little chilly here in Colorado. It's chilly in Washington. It is chilly in Texas and Florida. Here it's 4 degrees this morning. And if it's cold in the United States, that means we need incrementally more natural gas in order to keep the heat on. And the only swing energy producer that the United States has in terms of power generation is natural gas. Coal is baseload. It takes too long to spin up and spin down. Same with nuclear for safety reasons. And solar and wind, you can't spin up. You get what the weather gives you, and that's it. Natural gas is our only flexible fuel source. And well, we're being flexible with it by using it right now. And that means it's not available for the Europeans at the moment. Now, for the moment, the Europeans have been very lucky. They're having one of the warmer winters on record, even though the United States is having one of the colder ones. And that means they don't need as much at this moment. But always remember, bottom line, the infrastructure that allowed the Europeans to get to this level of storage and have this degree of supply is no longer there. So next winter is going to be far tougher. And this winter, even with high storage levels and record low temperatures and a lot of demand shut in, this is already the highest electricity and natural gas prices the Europeans have on record.
Zeihan stressed how the current cold weather condition, especially in the United States, warrants more natural gas to keep the heat on. However, the United States, in particular, only rely on natural gas rather than nuclear, solar, or wind because they aren't a more flexible fuel source than the former. This has resulted in natural gas not being available for the Europeans. The crisis in Ukraine has highlighted the need for Europe to diversify its energy sources and become less reliant on Russia. In the short term, this has meant increased import consideration of natural gas from other suppliers like Africans. But in the longer term, it will require a fundamental shift in how Europe produces and consumes energy. What do you think needs to be done to get rid of the gas and energy crisis we are all facing? Feel free to let us know in the comment section below. Kindly share this video with your family and friends, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more updates. Anticipate our next video update. Thanks for watching.